Up next, another Tascam DA40. This was shipped in from a viewer who tried to do his own service. He changed the belt, and when he put it back together, he had no power and couldn't figure out why. So he contacted me. It's a guy that I've done a number of DAT machines for over the last year or so. I said, yeah, ship it in. We'll check it out and see what's wrong with it. So we're going to do an inspection on this first and see if we can figure out what damage has been caused when it was serviced. Got another Tascam DA40 sent in for repairs. Another one that looks like it got beat up at the post office. Look at the side mounting here. This one's bent on the top here, and the other side, this bottom corner, is crunched. So hopefully there's no other damage other than the front panel. This one actually looks to be in really good shape, other than the fact that now the cabinet is kind of bashed. But this one here, the guy that owns this one said he changed the belts on it, and when he put it back together, it is completely dead. So I don't know what has happened to it. We're going to open it up before I plug it in. I'll do another inspection before I get into it, and hopefully there's no other damage other than this, and we'll be able to figure out what is wrong with it. So let me get the top off it. Okay, so I don't think there's any damage done internally to the unit. It looks pretty clean. First thing I'm going to do is plug it in and just observe what it does. And the display is totally dead. So the first thing I'm going to do is check for voltages coming from the power supply. That's where we have to start. So first things first, do we have any power getting to the unit itself? So I'll go to DC. I'm going to measure some of the DC voltages. We'll just check some of the voltages down here and see if there's anything coming off the power supply. I see nothing. Okay, I've got a 5-volt supply, which is good. So we know the power supply is running. 8 volts. So the power supply minus 15. Looks like we've got power. At least some of the voltages here. 15 volts. So the power supply is running. So next thing, we'll pull the mechanism out because, as I say, the guy that owns it, he changed the belt. So I want to make sure that something didn't get damaged or didn't get reconnected incorrectly. But we know we've got power getting to the power supply, so let's open up the deck. Remove the 2 screws that hold the deck in place. We'll flip the entire deck out. Do an inspection. Lift the transport out and look on the bottom. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the power supply board. I want to check the power supply board, check the different voltages coming off the power supply board. So I'll remove the power board to do that. I'm seeing some voltages, but I don't know whether I've got all of them or not. Real common on these are some of the regulators go bad. That's what happened on mine. Although the unit did power up, I just got the Mechacom error. I had lost a 5-volt supply. Oh, wait a minute. I think I see the problem right now. This might be the problem right here. Check out this connector. It is halfway in and halfway out. Could it be that simple? Let's just try powering this thing up again before I go any further. No. But with that connector sitting crossed like it was, it could have very well put a short somewhere else down the line. So, because this was sitting in crooked. It was sitting in like that. So that could very well have caused a dead short and blown something up on the digital board. There should be some circuit protectors on here, I would think. There's circuit protectors. I have to take a look. I've never worked on the digital board on one of these before. But let's get back to that power supply, because that's the place to start. As I've mentioned before, one of the things I really like about the Tascam units is their ease of servicing. Very easy to get into these units to work on them. So I want to check these regulators out here and make sure that I'm getting the proper regulated voltages coming off of them. So we'll plug it in. It's not turned on just yet. And find a place to ground the meter so I don't have to hold the second probe, and get the meter set up. And now I can go through and I can check some of the voltages on these regulators. So power is on, 15 volts, 2 volts, that's probably a little bit low. 14 volts, 5 volts, this regulator is probably open. What is it? It is a 7805. Excellent, so that's a 5 volt regulator. This 5 volt regulator is only putting out 2 volts. As we can see, we tip the meter down so you guys can see it a little bit easier. So our input is 15 volts and our output is only 2.2. So either that regulator shot or something else is shorted and it's drawing it down, but we'll start by replacing that 5 volt regulator. So I have a replacement 7805 regulator here. I'm just waiting for my soldering iron to warm up, and then we'll get this one out and replace it, and fingers crossed there's no other damage. And more than likely what happened is when this connector wasn't inserted straight, it caused a short and blew up this regulator. And as I say, hopefully there's no other damage and that's it, and we'll have saved another one. The fellow that sent me this, he sent me a number of DAT machines in the past. This is probably about 10 of them, I think, 8 or 10. He sent me a bunch of DAT machines, and I guess I'm getting known in the DAT community as a somewhat of an expert on these things. I'm not an expert on DAT machines, believe me. I've fixed a number of them, but I'm certainly not an expert when it comes to these units, because I never really serviced these too much when I was in the business. I saw the odd one, the odd consumer, like a Sony 75 ES. I worked on a couple of those, but the Tascam ones, basically, I've only seen them in the last couple of years. In fact, the first Tascam that I worked on, the first DA40 that I worked on, was my own, and it was that regulator was bad on it, and that caused the Mechacom error. This is an 8 volt regulator. This one's okay. This one's got 5 volts. This one's got 8 volts. This 5 volt regulator is dead. So, soldering iron should be hot enough. Let's remove the old one. As I say, out with the old and in with the new. I'll have to go and get some more. This is actually a pull from something else, because I've run out of 5 volt regulators. I'll have to make a trip in and pick some more up. Maybe I'll do a parts run tomorrow and get some stuff. I know that I've got another DAT machine coming in that somebody sent to me by FedEx, even though I said do not send by FedEx. He sent it by FedEx, and now I have to go pick it up at the collection place because they won't ship to a P.O. box. And I won't have stuff sent to my house. The last time somebody tried to send me a a DAT machine was I forget, I don't even remember what it was. It was a Sony of some type, but it gave the fellow my P.O. box, and for some reason he Googled and used the information that my troll has been putting out there about my address, sent it to my home address, and the FedEx guy just left it at the door, and by the time I got home, somebody else thought that maybe it was something we're stealing, and they stole a broken DAT machine. So somebody got a nice broken DAT machine, and the guy that sent it to me lost his. And then to add insult to injury, FedEx sent me a bill for, I think it was $72 for broker charges for something that was never delivered. Now, is this going to fit, or I'm going to have to extend these wires just to make the leads fit, because this one here, the leads are a little bit on the short side. So I'm going to have to extend the wires on this. One moment while I do that. Just extending the leads. I bend the two others out front like this so that they aren't going to short out. There's lots of clearance, and I'm putting a metal back regulator in, even though the original was a plastic back. It's not a problem because the heat sink is grounded, as is the center tab, so it's not an issue with it shorting out. And the other ones, well, one of them's not even connected to the heat sink. The other one has got a plastic back anyway, so it's no big deal because they're all grounded. Okay, if we look on the circuit board, we will see that here's our ground, our center tab here, right? Same with this one here, right? This one here, ground. Ground goes all the way around to here. Ground goes along to this ground tab, which grounds to the chassis, and it also grounds to where the screw is. This is the screw that holds the heatsink in place. So all these tabs are grounded together. So not a problem, but this one's insulated. This one's not even connected to the heatsink. It's just standing up in the board. So having this tab connected to the metal heatsink without an insulator is not an issue because, again, the metal heatsink already is grounded itself. So no issues whatsoever with doing this. I'll get the wires fed through and then get the grounding screw in, and then we'll resolder it in place. I made the wires extra long so that it's easy for me to fish it through the board. Like that. And then I can put the ground screw in, or the mounting screw. And I'm not putting heatsink compound on here. It really isn't necessary. The originals didn't have any, and they had a plastic back. So what type of heat transfer do you get through a plastic back? Not very much. A metal back is going to transfer heat much better than the plastic one ever did, even though it had a little bit of heatsink compound. So not an issue. These do not draw a lot of current. Okay. I can power the unit up now, make sure nothing is touching anything, and make sure nothing's touching. I don't even need to measure the voltage. When I power it up, if the display lights up, then I can start reassembling. And I have Tascam DA40 on the display. I think we probably got this one solved. Let me reassemble it and then we'll test it. Just like that. Replace the 4 screws to hold the transformer in place. So what do you guys think of the new lighting? Do you think it looks better? I think it looks better on camera. I think the skin tones look more natural under proper lighting. And I just think the overall picture looks better. There's less reflections, although I still have some point source LEDs overhead. But with all the full spectrum fluorescents that are beaming light down on me now, it makes it pretty easy to see things. What you don't see on camera is that there's another light that's just like attached to the tripod arm. So there's a light shining in from this direction, and then there's lights shining in from this direction as well as from behind me and straight down. Start. Gotta love it. Look at that frame counter on that display. Beautiful. I'll let you guys hear this recording directly from the tape so you can hear how good it sounds. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one real soon. I'll put my standard signature in there so anyone that services this in the future and takes the top off can find the video for when this one was last serviced. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.